The Zodiac constellation's origin. So in 1922, the International Astronomical Union drew up a list of 88 constellations. These are the constellations that are officially recognized by astronomers in the Western world today. Out of the 88 constellations that they established, 48 of them were based on ancient Greek star patterns recorded by Ptolemy in the 2nd century. Mesopotamia, along with Egypt, India, Persia, Rome, and Greece, all contributed to astrological advances in understanding. The Mesopotamians of Babylon had a 12-month calendar and assigned constellations to each month. The Greeks gave it the Zodiac name, which stands for Circle of Animals. Horoscopes were not prevalent in ancient Greece. During these ancient times, they used the stars and planets as a way to converse with the gods. So if you take Babylonian interpreting of celestial events, and then you take the Greek omens from the gods, it starts to become more like modern horoscopes. So what is the origin of zodiac constellations? There's a history from various cultures on how these constellations were put into the sky. For the sake of time, we're going to be exploring the Greek mythology of the constellations. This is what Ptolemy used, and his work, it influenced a lot of different cultures about their astrology understanding. I also want to point out that some of these Greek mythology stories, they're really horrible in the context of what happens within these stories. Some have violence, there's some assaults and kidnappings, and even worse in some cases. So trigger warning for those things, very surface level in this video, but if you look any of these up, just prepare yourself for that. Let's start with Aries, which is Latin for ram, and not associated with Aries, the god of war. The constellation was known as the agrarian worker. The shift to the ram occurred later in Babylonian tradition because of its growing association with Dumuzi, the shepherd. Now, Dumuzi was an agricultural deity associated with the growth of plants and beginning of spring. The constellation of Aries in Greek mythology is associated with the story of Phrixus and the ram with the golden fleece. This ram symbolized authority and kingship. So Phrixus sacrificed the ram to Zeus, and the constellation Aries was placed among the stars to honor its heroism. Taurus is Latin for bull, and in Greek mythology, it's about the story of the mortal descendants of Zeus, about Europa and Cadmus. Zeus changed himself into a white bull, which is a symbol of strength, power, and durability. He did this in order to win the heart of Europa, and as a symbol of love for her, he placed the bull in the sky. Gemini means twins in Latin, and in Greek mythology, the constellation is connected to the twins of Castor and Pollux, who are associated with art and literature. In fact, their names belong to the two brightest stars in the constellation of Gemini. They were warriors, did many adventures together, and when Castor died, Pollux begged his father Zeus to give Castor immortality, and he did, by uniting them together in the heavens as the constellation of Gemini. Cancer, or in ancient Greek, Carcinus, is known as the crab, and meaning hard shell, and described as loyal and brave. Cancer is known in Greek mythology as a character in the 12 labors of Hercules. In the second task, while fighting Hydra, Hera saw an opening and sent the giant crab to kill Hercules. But Hercules prevailed, and Hera placed the crab in the sky for his efforts. Now, interesting, Leo, Latin for lion, has a very similar story. This time, the Greek myth has to do with Hercules' first of the 12 labors. He was sent to kill the Nemean lion, noted for being savage and fearless. Zeus wanted to celebrate his victory, so he placed the lion in the sky. The constellation of Virgo is associated with Astraea, the Greek goddess of justice, modesty, and good faith. According to Greek mythology, Astraea was the last immortal to abandon Earth at the end of the Silver Age. She was disgusted by the wickedness of humanity, so she fled humanity to the heavens and became Virgo. Moving into Libra, Latin for weighing scales, and the only inanimate object in the zodiac. Libra is represented by Themis, the goddess of justice, balance, and fairness, who is the mother of Astraea from Virgo. She was in many Greek myths, always weighing what was fair and just with her golden scales. So Zeus placed the golden scales in the sky to commemorate Themis's passion for harmony and fairness. Scorpio's constellation is called Scorpius, which is Latin for scorpion. The Greek myth centers around the story of Orion. Orion meant Artemis, and their constant hunting upset Gaia, the goddess of Earth. Tired of Orion's arrogance, and to protect the world's animals, she sent Scorpius to kill Orion, and was successful. Zeus put both Orion and Scorpius in the sky, but he placed them so they would never be seen in the sky at the same time. The constellation of Sagittarius kind of has two different paths in Greek mythology. So the name is Latin for the archer, and both stories talk about the mastery of the bow and arrow. Some say it's Chiron, the centaur who trained Greek heroes, including Achilles, but we also associate Chiron with the constellation of Centaurus. The alternative Greek myth is associated with Crotus, a satyr. He is often given credit for inventing the bow. He was a skilled hunter and a close companion of the Muses on Mount Helicon. And it was these muses that asked that he be immortalized among the stars in the constellation Sagittarius, recognizing his great talents. When we move over to the next constellation, we run into Crotus's father, Pan, who is associated with the Greek myth of Copernicus, which means horned goat in Latin. So satyrs are known for their love of nature and their ever-present drive. The Greek myth has to do with the 100-headed Typhon fought Zeus. The other gods transformed themselves into animals and fled, but not Pan. He leapt into the river, and as he did, that bottom part of his body that was submerged in the water became a fish. Thus, he was transformed into a sea goat. So when Pan saw that Typhon had seized Zeus, he rushed from the river to aid him. In gratitude for Pan's help, Zeus promised to honor him by placing his sea goat form among the stars. Aquarius, Latin for water bearer, is associated with Ganymede. Zeus took the form of an eagle and stole what some believe to be the most beautiful mortal, Ganymede. He was made to be the cupbearer for the god, as a servant. He was of service to the gods until he rebelled and poured out the nectar of the gods, flooding the world. Upon reflection, Zeus knew his treatment of Ganymede was unfair, so he placed him in the sky as the constellation of Aquarius. The constellation of Pisces, Latin for fish, is associated with Aphrodite and Eros. The monster Typhon, as mentioned previously in Capricorn, was sent by Gaia to wage war on the gods. Pan had warned others about this deadly monster, but Aphrodite and her son Eros were lost in dreams, putting them into a dangerous situation. In need of escape, they turned into fish, or were taken to safety by two fish. Either way, the goddess of Athena placed them in the sky to reward their bravery, and their tails tied together so that they will never be parted. In summary, the constellations placed in the sky by ancient cultures have a story to them, and even personality traits associated with them. When it comes to the zodiac constellations, or the constellations that are set along the ecliptic, which is the path of the planets and the luminaries, they become a mascot for a time frame associated with season. So some of the energies in these stories still show up in modern interpretations. But what do you think? Does your zodiac sign align with the story of your constellation? Drop it in the comments below. And until next time, cheers.